I have an important video for you today, and I hope I don't mess it up. It's about what I consider now to be possibly a faked event, a staged news event that happened in New York City very recently at Elmhurst Hospital. Bear with me. I know this is a controversial topic, and the pandemic stuff has everybody very scared and paranoid, and just because I'm saying that this might have been a faked event does not mean that I am convinced that the virus itself isn't a real thing. It could very well be a real thing. In fact, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a real flu. But I'm also pretty sure that they're using it to scare people to death and also for other agendas. And one of the agendas that I think thereafter, hadn't even thought of this till I read this article, is increasing the culling of people that are sick and that are elderly. I came across this Washington Post article, faced with a crush of patients, besieged New York City hospitals struggle with life or death decisions. This is from March 31st, just a couple of days ago. Last week, DNRs, or do not resuscitate policies for coronavirus patients who stop breathing or are in cardiac arrest, were being discussed as part of worst-case scenario planning. Ideas dismissed late last week by Deborah Birx, the White House coronavirus coordinator, saying, "There is no situation in the United States right now that warrants that kind of discussion." Over the past few days, however, as the city's death count topped 1,000, with 10,900 people hospitalized amid predictions of the peak of the crisis being still 2 weeks off, some hospitals and medical centers activated those protocols. At Elmhurst, according to a protocol that was communicated to staff on Saturday and again on Sunday and was shared with the Washington Post, doctors would be able to unilaterally designate coronavirus patients as DNR and/or DNI, do not intubate, which means they will not be eligible for a ventilator, even if it goes against the wishes of the patient or family. That's terrifying. I don't mean to scare you, because there's enough fear going around. But I think that that's something that needs to be figured into this whole thing. And if it's Elmhurst that's leading the charge on this whole doctors can unilaterally, hospitals can unilaterally decide to go against patient wishes and not even treat them and just let them die there. That's very, very serious. So we have to look at the circumstances that led to this. The circumstances that led to this are that a doctor, Colleen Smith, filmed video in Elmhurst, and then she collaborated with the New York Times to say that the hospitals are war zones and that physicians are falling ill and that they don't have the equipment that they need. And as a result, there are overflowing dead bodies everywhere. This is where that picture of the white truck backed up to the hospital, this is where this comes in, because they say that's a portable morgue. And by the way, more and more pictures of those sorts of trucks are starting to spring up online now, and they look very phony. There's one by ProPublica showing two men, not even in hazmat gear or anything, as you can see, loading a body, I guess, right directly from a truck into an expensive coffin. Just asking you, does that seem like a realistic situation? So let's investigate whether or not this story, published by the New York Times and created essentially by this one doctor, let's investigate whether or not that's true, because that is giving the news media and the globalists the excuse they need to start this do not resuscitate and do not intubate policy change that they want. By the way, that's a very good article by Washington Post, and inside of it, it does have doctors talking to the paper saying, I can't not try to save patients. I have to. That's my job. That's what I want to do. Lots of doctors say that. So just know that this is not coming from the physicians. This is coming from hospital administration. That's where it's coming from, just so you know. And this woman, Colleen Smith, is more interested in the hospital administration end of medicine than anything else. I started getting curious about that doctor when I saw Lady Warrenon post, "I just called this hospital. They checked twice and there is no Dr. Colleen Smith that works there." I wish I had a recording of those phone calls. That would be proof positive for you. However, I don't. And so I can't tell you whether or not this is true. I mean, I don't have a reason to distrust Lady Warrenon, but I can't prove it to you. In either case, it's not the foundation of my story. My story comes from myself and other people looking into the background of this doctor. Here's her LinkedIn page, Colleen Smith, and oddly, it doesn't say doctor. I don't know why it wouldn't. And her title is Associate Program Director, Site Director in the Greater New York City area. We can see where she went to school or where she worked. Emergency medicine physician and resuscitationista with interests in simulation, medical education, wellness in medicine, and faculty development. Here's some of her experience. It gets more interesting as you scroll down. Here we notice that she went to the New York University School of Medicine Sackler Institute of Graduate Biomedical Sciences, and she was a simulation fellow. Her skills and endorsements, medical simulation.